This is Matthew Cratter from Trader University, and today I want to answer the question, is Ethereum ultra-hard money? This is a meme that we've been seeing a lot online from people like Ryan Sean Adams, talking about how Ethereum, ETH will have a lower issuance rate than Bitcoin in 12 months from now. And so I just want to put this in context, and so you can understand Ethereum's history and what this means going forward for Ethereum. Now, one of the problems with Ethereum is they change the narrative every few years. So in the beginning, Ethereum was a world computer, Ethereum is culture, Ethereum is like a tech stock, it's an internet bond, and now it's considered to be ultra hard money. This is like one of those people you know who has a complete personality change every couple of years, and so you wonder what they really are at the core. One of the problems with Ethereum is it's like Bitcoin's little brother, always trying to play catch up and always playing copycat. And the narrative that is really coalesced around Bitcoin, and this has lasted for years, has been that Bitcoin is digital gold. It has a scarcity. It functions as a store of value, as we've talked about many times on this channel. And so Ethereum is playing copycat once again and saying, well, Bitcoin is ultra hard money. It's digital gold. Well, Ethereum is ultra digital gold or ultra hard money. And this is, I won't go into the prehistory of Ethereum because I did a whole video on that talking about Ethereum's dirty history. It's important to understand this context simply because Vitalik Buterin is still in charge of Ethereum, and understanding the history of Ethereum, including the pre-mine and the pre-sale, gives you a lot of insight into how the insiders at Ethereum behave. So Ethereum had a very large pre-sale and pre-mined. 62% of the current Ethereum money supply was pre-mined or pre-sold in a suspicious manner. Now they want to move to proof of stake, which basically means those insiders and those who are connected, who got these big allocations at the beginning, will be able to stake their Ethereum and earn even more Ethereum. This is just like the Cantillon effect in fiat, in the fiat financial system, where the rich get richer. So we talked about the pre-mine and pre-sale. I'll link to this video if you want all of the details, in which I go into just a little bit how too smooth the pre-sale was, and how it basically shows that it was a coordinated effort to sell Ethereum. And then, of course, what happened is Buterin, Vitalik, sold 25% of his holdings. As we all know, Satoshi Nakamoto has disappeared and has never sold any of his money. So Ethereum really has these kind of gross insider dynamics. In addition, the real problem to having a centralized, charismatic founder like Vitalik is that your currency is not decentralized. There's a central point of weakness there where Vitalik could be kidnapped, he could be bribed, or somehow manipulated, unlike Satoshi, who has left the project many years ago. The other problem with Ethereum, of course, is it's still completely dependent on Infura for its infrastructure and Amazon Web Services. This is one of the dirty secrets that Ethereans don't like to talk about. They pretend that it's completely decentralized, whereas all we need to happen if the US government wants to shut down Ethereum, they just place a call to Jeff Bezos. You turn off their access to AWS, and you call the CEO at Infura, and Ethereum stops working. The other problem, of course, is that Vitalik drives the monetary policy because he's the most visible founder and developer. We'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the video, so be sure to stay tuned. In the meantime, I'd ask you to hit that subscribe and like button if you're enjoying this video and finding it useful. Also, try to share the video with a couple people. Now, Ethereans pretend that Ethereum is completely decentralized, but then it slips out on websites like this that are even very pro Ethereum, how Vitalik is supposedly has no power, and yet he's attributed all of these actions and all of these powers in videos like this where he escalates. And it's very clear when you follow Ethereum news that Vitalik is in charge, and if he wants something to happen, he has the bully pulpit. Again, very different from Satoshi Nakamoto. Whenever there's a panic that Vitalik is dead, of course, Ethereum crashes. This is not, if we learn that Satoshi Nakamoto is dead, it actually would probably make Bitcoin go up. So again, this is the problem. You can't pretend you're decentralized when you have a charismatic founder who can basically move the currency depending on what's happening in his life. I'll link to these articles where I talk about how much of Ethereum runs on Amazon Web Services and on Infura as well. We saw this very clearly back in November of 2020, just a few months ago, when Infura went down and all of a sudden you couldn't withdraw your Ethereum from exchanges. This is not what a decentralized currency looks like, and this is not what a form of digital gold looks like. There's nothing that can go down in the gold system that will prevent you from using gold coins to buy something, moving gold around, etc. Now, gold is an outdated, barbarous relic. It served its function for many years, but Bitcoin is basically a much better version of it, much easier to send all around the world. It's the digital version. Ethereum is trying to be digital gold, it's trying to be ultra-hard money, but it's unable to do it for these reasons because it's still very centralized. It has this dirty history. It has a central guy in charge. In addition, it doesn't really have credibility. If you go back and look at all the different major Ethereum forks, the most famous one was the DAO fork back in 2016, where they basically reversed the history to recover some stolen funds. The one that carried on the continuity was Ethereum Classic, which is now just a tiny little hard fork of Ethereum. But this is the kind of currency you're dealing with. It has a history of rolling back transactions. This has never happened in Bitcoin. And if we scroll through here, we can see all the different hard forks that have happened in Ethereum. There's nothing similar in Bitcoin. We've had hard forks that have resulted in garbage versions of Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, BCH, which itself is then forked into BSV, Bitcoin Satoshi's vision, which of course has nothing to do with the way Satoshi would have wanted things to go. Bitcoin, I can't even keep track of all the little splinter groups that came out of Bitcoin Cash. But those basically disappeared. What we have here, and they disappeared in the sense they have very, very tiny market caps compared to Bitcoin, very little demand for their block space, etc. Whereas Ethereum has this history of changing monetary policy, changing what it's really about, as we talked about, whether it's a world computer, whether it's an internet bond, whether it's ultra-hard money. They can't really decide, and it's really like any other tech company where they just keep changing the description of what they do in order to stay current. And people who don't know the history of Ethereum and haven't followed this won't have the proper context for evaluating a currency. Just as we talked about the person who changes their personality every couple of years, this is really what Ethereum is like. And the main problem with this is it does not give you any confidence in Ethereum's future monetary policy. So it's changed its monetary policy and its issuance rate of Ethereum many times over the past decade. Why should we believe that it won't be changed again? Especially because there is a guy in charge. There's Vitalik at the center. By contrast, Bitcoin has always had the same maximum supply cap, 21 million Bitcoin, the same issuance rate. We have the halvings that happen every 4 years when the amount of new Bitcoin being mined gets halved. None of this has changed. It's been very consistent, and we shouldn't underestimate the value of a protocol like this that doesn't change. Theoretically, the community could get together and change the cap, but it never has. And this is really one of the core tenets of Bitcoin, is this scarcity. And there's no reason to think that Bitcoiners would ever vote for increasing the max supply or basically changing the code and doing a fork, simply because they would be diluting themselves. So Bitcoin has this consistent monetary history and monetary policy that Ethereum doesn't have. This year, Ethereum is ultra-hard money, but who knows what it might be next year. If you want a very good store of value, you're much better off going with something that, rather than saying what it is, it's shown what it is over the past 11 years. that this is one of the basics of Bitcoin, this 21 million meme and the scarcity of Bitcoin. And then, of course, the greatest irony of all, which the Ethereans who tell you that Ethereum is ultra-hard money, they don't mention the fact that Vitalik himself does not believe in hard money. And this is one of the great ironies, and it really shows you where he's coming from. And so it's very difficult to say that Ethereum is ultra-hard money when Vitalik himself does not believe in it. I'll just give you one example. You can find other examples. Here's a tweet from a couple of years ago in which Vitalik is basically implicitly criticizing Bitcoin. The idea that, this is Vitalik speaking, the idea that an individual can have the immutable right to own a fixed percentage of all the world's money indefinitely, on the other hand, feels very oligarchic. This is the kind of thing that makes me mad. This is the guy who dumped 25% of his Ethereum, who did a Premine in which he printed his own money and gave himself a ton of it. And he's going to tell people what's oligarchic. Vitalik is the ultimate oligarch. He created the money printer. He printed up a bunch of money for himself and his buddies. And now he's going to go around and just pretend Ethereum is whatever it needs to be for the sake of marketing. So if you believe that Ethereum is ultra-hard money, unfortunately, Vitalik does not believe the same thing. In fact, he's against the idea of ultra-hard money. He's just like any other cantillionaire or cantillion billionaire who has access to his own money printer. And in this way, Ethereum is nothing like Bitcoin, which has that true decentralization. It doesn't have a founder in charge anymore, and it has the credibility of a consistent monetary policy over the past decade. If you found this video helpful, be sure to hit that subscribe and like button. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I publish my next video. And let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.